Hey everybody, Dave from Wolfhard Hobbying here, and today we're going to take another look at painting leather. If you haven't seen my previous video on painting leather, go check out my Scorza Skirmisher playlist. I do a quick leather in there, which is just basically a base coat, a wash, and then a highlight. But in this video we're going to take a look at a few more steps and eliminating using a wash altogether. So to serve as our example, we're going to use the Witchling Stalker here from Malifaux. I want a lot of leather on this guy, and to get us started, we're going to come in with Citadel's base color of Mornfang Brown. This is a good dark brown, but if you wanted to go darker, he has been primed in gray. You could use a black primer, as whenever you're painting, you want to thin your paints so that you get a nice smooth finish with it. So the black primer would darken this brown even more. The gray keeps it more in the neutral color, so that when it dries it's a little bit bright but not too bright. If you wanted a bright leather color, then I'd prime in white, but I digress. Anyways, so I've got a fairly large base coating brush, and as you can see, I'm going to be base coating pretty much the entire model. He's got this big cloak over top of him. He's got, you know, a gun pouch, holster, I mean. He's got a lot of these packs on his back as well, and I want all of that in leather. So the way, if you were doing a wash, you may not get a lot of separation from your colors as you would if you're going to do a layering effect, which is what we're going to take a look at doing in this video. So it's good if you have a lot of leather to do it this way. If you've got small leather like his little bags or his coin purses or whatever it happens to be on the side there, then I would just usually do a base coat, a wash, and a quick highlight. So pretty straightforward, just going to go over all the parts that you want leather with the Mornfang Brown. So again, it's pretty much the entirety of the model, and I will be doing 2 coats of the base color. But that's it for this step. Again, I'm going to do a second coat. We're going to let this guy dry, and then we're going to start with our highlighting process. So with everything dry, you can see it's a nice dark brown. Again, with a black primer, it probably would be a little bit darker. So for our first highlight, we're going to come in with 2-to-1 mixture of Mornfang Brown to 1 XV88. This is going to be kind of a second base coat, with leaving the pure Mornfang Brown in a lot of those deeper recesses, kind of like you would with a wash. You would want your darker color in the recess of the model. So starting out here, I'm kind of doing some very broad strokes, as I'm not worrying too much about some of those little divots or creases in the cloak. But so like up in near his chest and everything on that bent leg, I'm not even going to bother putting any color in there. I'm just going to leave the Mornfang Brown in there. This is going to be a very good tabletop kind of process. Whereas you could get a little bit more detailed with wet blending and other things like that. So this kind of second base coat is very broad. I am using a medium base coating brush, but some parts I will come in with a detail brush. With it being broad, we're also being very selective as to where the color is going to go. So on these packs and everything like that, and the little straps, I kind of go in with a detail brush to get a better coverage. So So I've gone around the entire portion of the model, just touching it up here. As you can see, it's got some kind of shading going on and things like that. It's very subtle, but that's kind of what we want. I don't want very dark recesses and very bright highlights. So you could do this a bunch of different ways. Again, guys, this is just how I do it. So you could come in with a wash as well if you wanted to make those recesses darker, but I would probably wait to do that more near the end of the process. So with everything dry, we're coming in with just straight XV88. With this color, it's very thinned out with Lemaine medium, almost to a glaze consistency, and I've switched to a smaller, closer to a detail brush for this color. So this one's going to be a lot more selective than our second base coat would be, and just picking out, essentially doing an edge highlight with this color along the smaller parts. Up near the top of his head, I'm going to use it like a glaze and have it thinned out and work my color back a little bit. And that's why it's always good to work with very thinned paint. Always use medium when you are thinning out your paints. Never water, as I find water would pool up and it doesn't give you the same effect. The medium gives you the control and allows you to bring the color where you need it. So again, just bringing this highlighting up, kind of using my light from my lamps as a light source, but just selecting a lot of the areas that need to be highlighted, like his knees, the top of his head, the top of his arms, and things like that. And again, using it kind of like a glaze. I believe I do 2 coats over the model with this kind of homemade glaze type thing. But it's very selective, and it's up to you on how far you want to bring the XV88 up. So here I'm just kind of finishing up my second coat of this. It dries really fast when it's thinned out, which is nice, and allows you to build up the color as far as you want to bring it. So as you can see, we've got a lot of separation now in the leather. Again, it's tabletop standard, so it's not going to be really beautiful and really great transitions, but it gives it a nice effect. Again, at this point, you could come in with a Agrax Earthshade wash to kind of tie it all together and maybe darken the XV88 just a little bit. But I don't want to do that. I kind of like the effect I have going here. It gives me great separation in all that leather. So the next and last highlight is going to be Talaran Sand. This isn't thinned out. It's not in any kind of glaze consistency. It's just straight out of the pot, as all my paints are thinned when I put them in the dropper bottles. So this one here is going to be a basic edge highlight, selecting the highest points on the model of those creases and things like that to just hit those, and pretty much be very picky about this, as too much of this might overthrow the dark Mournfang brown in the recesses. So again, just go around the model, look at where the most raised edges are on your model, and do your highlighting that way. I kind of slop here, but it's kind of a small area, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, I use my lamp as my kind of a light source, just to see where the light plays on the model and how far I want to hit it with a highlight. But this is fairly simple. You could bring it as far as you want. You could do wet blending, you could do different mixtures and highlight brighter and do different transitions and things like that. But for something that's quick, easy to do, that's pretty much it, guys. As you can see, got some nice separation in the leathers, as well as on the back as well. So that's it. That's as far as I'm going to take this highlight. Let me know what you guys think. There will be a link to my Facebook page in the description below, so shoot me a message over there on any tips on how I could improve. There will be a link to my Patreon account as well if you want to show some support that way. That would be awesome. And as always, leave comments in the comment section below. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe and the like button. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching the video and have yourselves a great day.